Okay, so you know when you see the pen, that means I got me notes. Okay, so let's get right into this lesson, which is learn from your mistakes. Make sure that every mistake that you make along the way on this journey, that you learn from your mistakes. Evaluate the entire situation and figure out what you learn from it. You know what I mean? Like what you can learn from it so you could do something differently moving forward, right? So, um, when it comes to relationships specifically, don't be moving too fast. That I got to get over somebody, you got to get under somebody. Look, I'm telling you now, that's not the way. I promise you, that's not the way. Like, that is not the way. Like, all you're doing is just packing trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. You know what I mean? You're just dragging your damage and your baggage to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, and you're never really, you're not healing. You're not getting nothing accomplished. You're just going from what this person did to you and you're dragging it to the next person, and now you're triggered and things are going on, and that's possibly not even what that person is on or doing, but you're just so used to some other things that you've gone through that you haven't gotten over yet. So like you're bringing unnecessary problems and unnecessary stress to a new situation, you know. So just every time you get out of a situation, evaluate the situation by asking yourself, what did you learn? What would you have done differently? Like in hindsight, right? Like now it's like, dang, the situation's over. I could have did this there. I probably shouldn't have said that. You know, when certain topics came up, I kind of lost. I talked crazy or my tone was off. You know what I mean? Like, you know, in hindsight, like, well, dang, what could I have done differently? Then you have to figure out how will you protect yourself in your next situation. Like, how would you handle things? Like, what exactly should you have done differently? And then like adapt those new habits so when you go into your next situation, you'll actually it'll have a better chance of being successful, right? It's not guaranteed, but you'll have a better chance because you know you were able to evaluate what went wrong in the last situation, so you could show up as a new person and in a better headspace in your new situation, right? So let's talk about some of the mistakes I've learned in my life, because I got some. Okay, so I'm gonna start with I'll get to relationships, but I'm gonna start with the lesson I learned from college, from how I always say that I've had my whole life planned since I was 12 and whatever, right? But I've found that I had all these plans and really didn't know what I was getting myself into, right? So I knew I wanted to be, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a Supreme Court judge, right? So you got to be a lawyer first, you got to go to undergrad, you got to go to law school to be a lawyer first, and then you get appointed to be a judge by the president, however that go, right? So that was my dream since I was a little girl. Like, me and my grandpa used to always talk about it, and he actually gave me the dream when I was a kid, like, grand girl, like, you will be a good, well, he said I would be a good lawyer, and then as I got older, I wanted to be a judge. Like, I would watch Judge Joe Mathis, I would watch, you know, those court shows, and I'm like, dang, like, and I was just seeing the injustice that black people get and stuff like that, you know, so I was just like, maybe I could, like, make some type of difference, and, you know, like, maybe when a black person comes into my courtroom, maybe I could reach them a little bit different to go back out there and give them a chance to change their lives or whatever, you know. So I just had this big old idea. So when I was in high school, I decided to graduate a year early, and I graduated high school at 16. I graduated high school at 16, and I was in college as a 16-year-old. And I turned 17 my first semester in college, right? And I, looking back on it now, I don't think that next year would have made a difference, because I didn't even know what to expect from college. Like, I did not know what I was getting myself into. So whether it was 16 or 17, I mean, luckily I didn't go out of state. I actually went to UNLV, so I was still at home, whatever, you know. I still stayed with my dad and all that. So, like, luckily I didn't go out of state. I think that might be a good thing, because I had not a clue. Like, my first semester, maybe my second semester, I got suspended because my GPA was too low. Didn't know what I was doing. I was still in like party kicking mode. Like, I would go to school during the day, but my friends were still in high school. They was having kickbacks. They was so, you know, like, I'm still at the kickbacks. I'm chilling with my friends that's still in high school. You know, like, it was just ridiculous. So my GPA dropped my first year of college. And in college, when you get suspended in college, you get suspended for a whole year. Like, you don't get suspended for a couple of days or a week or no. I got suspended for a whole year, and I was like, what? Like, what the heck am I supposed to do for a whole year now? Like, that's crazy. So I was in college, child, and still ain't got no degree. Well, at least I don't have a 4-year degree. I have an associate's degree. I don't have a bachelor's. But my whole college career was like 8 years, because I didn't got suspended about 3 times. So that's 3 years of me not being able to take no classes. Like, I couldn't do nothing, right? So what I learned from that was, I learned how to pivot. I learned how, okay, don't give up, pivot. Like, okay, this is not working out. This is not going the way that you planned it. I just could not get through undergrad. I couldn't. It was so boring. Like, it was not stimulating my mind. Like, I wanted to do law stuff. I was like, I had went to a law magnet school before I moved to Vegas. It was Wilson High in East LA. I had went to a law magnet, and we used to do mock trials and stuff like that after school. And like, I don't know, like, that school was, I only went there for 1 semester, because after that I had moved with my dad. So I only went there like my first semester of 9th grade, and then I moved to Vegas. But I, like, that's what I thought I was going to be doing. Like, I started majoring in criminal justice. Criminal justice class is not, like, we were doing mock trials, like, literally, like, kids that were getting in trouble at school. They would basically, after school, as part of their detention, they would have to come attend this mock trial, and we would have to decide, like, basically what their punishment would be for them misbehaving at the school or whatever. So I don't know, like, that was cool. We did those at least like every other week after school, and so that's what I thought I was gonna be doing in college. Like, I'm thinking we're gonna be doing law stuff. I don't know, like, we're gonna be, I don't know, fake attorneys and fake judges and stuff. Like, I don't know what I thought. So when that wasn't happening, and we just doing all this reading and all this just nonsense that just didn't make no sense to me. I'm taking math over history. You know how they just keep taking the classes over and over again from elementary to middle school. It just advances to a higher level. Like, I don't need all this math. I don't need no more history. I don't need no more. Like, I was just so over that. So amidst of that, like, every other year I was getting suspended. So finally I got to a point where I was like, man, I quit. Like, I give up. Like, this is, I can't really, and even when the years I didn't get suspended, my GPA was not that great. You know, it wasn't great enough to get me in law school. So I was, cause I was just bored. Like, I didn't like the classes. I changed my major so many times. It was ridiculous. Like, I just got to a point, was like, look, I've been here this long. What degree will be the easiest one for me to get at this point with all these classes that I've taken over all these years? Like, give me something. And it was just like, well, I mean, maybe we go for this, maybe we go for this. And I don't know, it was just getting ridiculous. So eventually I got to a point where I was about to give up, and my boyfriend at the time was like, hey, I had took a semester. I was like, oh, I'm just taking a semester off, you know. So the next semester came, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take this one off. And he was like, hey, check this out, you can't be here and not advance and elevate. Like, we not doing that. Like, if you giving up on yourself, like, you got to go give up on yourself somewhere else. You can't give up on yourself with me. And he was in school too, so he was like, no, that's out. So I was like, it was an older guy. I was like, all right, whatever. So I ended up going to the community college in Vegas, CSN, and I took them all here's my UNLV transcript. And I at least, like, what do I have to do to get an associate's degree? I need some type of degree. I've been in school for a very long time, and I need some type of degree, please. Like, what can these credits give me? And they was like, well, if you take these 3 classes here, because that wasn't my first time going to CSN. Like, some of the times where I couldn't go to UNLV when I was suspended, I went to CSN because I was just like, what am I gonna do for a year? Like, I'm gonna lose my momentum altogether, so let me go to CSN. So I already had credits at CSN. So I was like, here's go the credits I got for y'all. Here go the credits I got from UNLV. What do I need to get? I need some type of degree. Like, can I get an associate degree from y'all? And they was like, well, you got all the credits that you need, but you need a certain amount from our school in order for us to give you the degree. I'm like, okay, what is it? So I had to take 3 classes, and I was able to get my associate's degree. Now, at first, I didn't think it was a big deal because I was just like, it's an associate's degree. Like, I was supposed to be a lawyer. I was supposed to have a bachelor's degree, a law degree. You know, like, this is an associate. So I didn't even, they asked me did I want to walk the stage and attend the graduation. I was like, no, just call me when my thing is ready. So I'll come pick it up. Like, it's not even a big deal. I just need something at this point to show for the work that I've done. You know what I mean? Like, I just need something to just make me feel like I didn't just waste my time. I didn't just do all that for no reason. Like, for me to graduate high school, my dad had to pay for me to go to summer school every year. My freshman year, my sophomore year, and my junior/senior year. I went to I had to take 2 summer classes every summer in order for me to graduate a year early. And my dad had to pay for that. So I was just like, I mean, he didn't say nothing, but I was just like, still, like, you came up with this clever idea, you know, he supported you in it, and now what? Like, you're about to just, girl, no. So instead of giving up, I pivoted and I went to the community college, and I achieved my associate's degree from the community college in Vegas. So the lesson in that was, don't give up, pivot, like, make, like, what else can you do? Like, how can you not let all this work that you've done go to waste? You know, like, how can you still make it something good and still get an achievement out of it, and still, you know what I mean? Like, get, still be proud of yourself for, you know, what you did accomplish. Like, how can you do that? So, that's the lesson I learned from college, was how to pivot. And I have been pivoting my whole life since then, literally. Like, that's how I ended up getting in trucking. Like, after I got the associate's degree, I was just like, okay, I don't know about college no more. Like, I don't. So then I figured, I found out that if you test high enough to get in on the LSAT, which is to get into law school, you don't necessarily have to, or you just needed like one more thing to like get in if you didn't have a bachelor's degree or something like that. So then I tried that way. Yo, that LSAT for Dummies book, I was like, oh my God. Like, you know, so I was like, okay, I can't do it either. So once I just finally was like, okay, lawyers kind of out the question, Malaysia. Like, sheesh, like, okay, all right. So now I had to break that down. I said, okay, what's the big deal about being a lawyer? I mean, sure, you'll be an attorney, but really most people are lawyers because they like it, but also because of the money. So I'm okay, how much do a lawyer make? So, I mean, starting out, probably not that much, but let's say like the cap, or once you're doing pretty well, right? We're talking about anywhere between $200,000 and $250,000 a year. So here's my don't give up pivot. I said, okay, what can you go do? Like now, instead of worrying about being an attorney, how about you just focus on that number of $250,000 a year? It's the same difference. I mean, you won't be an attorney, but if you have $250,000 a year, you won't, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like I wouldn't be as hard on myself. And actually, it has worked. Like, I really don't think about being an attorney no more. And after realizing going through a certain situation with a friend of mine that's incarcerated, I was like, oh, that's what attorneys do? Oh, yeah, I wouldn't want to be an attorney. Like, you be knowing your person is guilty, and you got to defend them, and, you know, or you got to put innocent people in jail because you're trying to get your numbers. And I was just like, I'm very ethical. Like, I can't live like that. So I was just like, I didn't know that that's, you know, what it comes with. And if you want to move up and you want to make the most money and you want people to actually hire you to represent them, like, you kind of got to go against the grain. Like, you kind of got to be unethical in a sense. Like, that's just how it goes. And really, that's not me. So now that I look back on it, I'm like, I'm glad it didn't work, because I would be miserable. I would hate myself every day defending this person that I know did it. The evidence says, yeah, I think yes, because that's what happened with my friend. The lawyer basically told me, we all think he did it. And I was like, we're paying you, and you, like, he basically told me he thinks he did it, and it sounded like that they wasn't gonna do what they needed to do. Also, we didn't have enough money for them to do what they need to do because of the case. So I really was like, oh man, like, we are in trouble. Like, we didn't messed up, you know what I mean? So now when I look back, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't become a lawyer. And, you know, I'm glad it didn't work out and it went the way it went. I mean, I got a whole bunch of student loans, but I really don't care about that. Like, they got to get that back in blood. You already know how that goes. Like, or whenever I get that $250,000, I'll just cash them out real quick. It's about $40,000 in loans. I'll just cash them out. You know, they can have it. But right now, like, nah. Like, I'm Tierra Marie. I ain't got it. Like, go and get, right? So, just when it comes to things like that, make sure you remember to pivot. In life, you're gonna have to make pivots. So when I decided, okay, I'm not gonna be the school stuff ain't working no more, I got my CDL at 22, and I was learning that you could just do all these different things with a CDL. So I was like, okay, even as far as getting your own truck, and if you start a fleet and, you know, you get about 3, 4, 5 trucks, you will be a millionaire, multi-millionaire. What all them trucks running like that, you know what I mean? So I was just like, okay, like, let me go see what that's about. And since being in it for 5 years, and I haven't even went to the next level yet, like, I've only been a company driver, I've hit 6 figures. So if I was to keep up, you know, actually move up to becoming an owner operator, then getting my own truck, and then like, that $250,000 is very reachable, very touchable. Now I'm just in a place where I got whole other ideas, so I don't need trucking. But the fact that trucking helped me get over the fact that I wasn't going to fulfill my original dream, and it helped me pivot and just and do something else instead of just feeling like a failure and feeling like I didn't, you know, like, dang, I didn't achieve anything, or, you know, I wasted all my time, and, you know, I should have never graduated early, and I shouldn't have did it, because I had friends that told me that, like, yeah, that's why you shouldn't have graduated, that's why you shouldn't have did it. And I was like, what? She's like, you know, I bet you regret graduating early now, huh? And I was like, actually, I don't. Like, that was kind of dope how I came up with a plan. My dad went and checked me in second semester of 9th grade, and the counselor just brought up that I could graduate early. And I was like, what? Like, how old I be? She was like 16. I was like, oh, that's dope. Like, what do I gotta do? She broke it down. You gotta go to some school. You gotta, you gotta go sacrifice. You gotta have a certain GPA, da da da. And I did it. Like, I thought that was so cool. I was like, I do not regret graduating high school at 16. Like, that was dope for me to come up with a plan and discuss it with my dad, and we both do our parts and stick to that plan. And I really walked the stage at 16 years old. Like, no, I absolutely don't regret that. Like, are you? But okay, like, I guess, I don't know. I think you're trying to prove a point because I didn't got suspended, I didn't messed up, but I would have did that at 17 next year. You know, when I graduate, I would have did the same thing. It would have been no different. But okay, like, I guess. So, that's what I mean by learning from your mistakes. The mistake was that I didn't necessarily know what I was getting myself into, and I also didn't know where to go look for the resources to help me get through college, because neither one of my parents had been to college. So I was just in there, I was first generation college student, and I was just like, like, ooh, I thought this was gonna be easier. Like, I was picturing something else, and now I'm here, and woo, I didn't messed up. Like, okay, so now when I get in situations where I thought it was gonna be something else, or I thought, you know what I mean, like, I find the resources. So trucking was definitely not what I thought it was gonna be, but luckily, when you go to trucking school, some of the people in your trucking class, like, trucking friendships might have to be my best friendships that I have, honestly. Like, my trucking friends are amazing, like, hands down. So when trucking became something that was like, whoa, okay, I wasn't expecting this, I didn't know this is what, you know, I was gonna have to do. I was, you know what I mean, like, this is like the type of world that I was like jumping into. I called my trucker friends. I had an uncle on my mom's side who owned trucks and drove trucks. My sister's dad has a cousin that drove trucks. Like, I reached out to people to get more insight and more information because of what I had learned from college. Like, I didn't know how to reach out to resources or how to get help to get me through college. So when I came to that, when I faced that problem again, I asked for help, and I utilized resources that I had to get me through trucking because of what I had learned from me jumping into something that I didn't know what I was getting myself into when it came to college. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean by learning from your mistakes, right? So then that's like just a life example. So for, let's say, relationships, we could talk about my first relationship that I had when I was 15, about 15, 16 years old or whatever. And I was, for one, he lived in California and I lived in Las Vegas, and I was that's when I had my attitude that I always talk about, like, ooh, my attitude was bad, right? So I was very mean, and I was insecure about the fact that I lived all the way in Vegas. So I would have all these rules. He would have to call me in the morning. He would have to, before I go to school, he had to call me before I went to school. He had to call me when I got home from school. He had, like, y'all, it was ridiculous. Like, I don't know how he dealt with me for the 6 months that he dealt with me. Like, I really, really don't. But, so we ended up, we dating. A situation had happened where I had met him through my neighbor who lived next door to my mom in LA. So, the situation had happened where, like, him and my neighbor just started hanging out more or whatever, and he was around this girl, which was a friend of my neighbor's, and I was insecure because, like I said, I lived in Vegas. So they was like all hanging out, whatever the heck, you know, I got like wrong information, whatever. I just completely just broke up with him, flipped out, whatever. I'm all heartbroken. I'm like, whatever, I'm all messed up, da da da. So what I learned from that situation was that, for one, learn how to communicate and give people a chance to defend themselves when you feel like they've done you wrong. Like, I didn't even ask him nothing. He just found out 2 years ago what I thought happened, and he was like, "That's why you broke up, girl. That's not what happened. Like, we could call him right now and tell, like, he could confirm that. That's not how that went." And I was like, "What? Like, for real?" So now, well, I didn't learn that till way down the line, because moving forward, I kept, like, not telling no one how I felt. Like, that was like a ongoing thing. Like, in that situation, I didn't tell him what he did. My next situation, I didn't tell him how I felt, and that, you know, how much I loved him and how much I wanted to be with him. In my 3-year relationship, I was shut down a whole lot. Like, we would be talking, I would just be stone faced, feeling all type of stuff in my heart, feeling hurt, feeling like, you know, how are you doing? Like, why are you so closed off? And why are you so, you know what I mean? Like, just whatever situation, whatever issues we were having in our relationship. And I just didn't say nothing. So what I learned from my relationships overall that I was having was how to be vulnerable and how to communicate and how to express my needs. And how all those situations, when I look at them now, that one when I was 15, that dude loved me down. Like, I promise you he did. Like, the type of love that I feel like I'm looking for right now, I had it at 15 years old. With this boy that lived on the east side. With his grandma. I had it. I was his little perfect, sweet dream. Like, oh my God, like, this girl from a whole different world. Like, she has plans, she has goals, she's going somewhere, she cute. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like everything to him. And I blew it. Next situation, I was too scared to tell him how I felt about him, because I didn't think he was ready, just because of what I knew about him, and, you know, just the way he moved, and, you know, whatever. I was just like, man, he still want to mess with girls and stuff, so, like, I don't want to bother him about my feelings, and it just mess up what we got going on, messes up our friendship. So I'm just not gonna say nothing, just for me to find out, like, girl, I was in love with you, but you just used to play me to the left so bad that I just had to be cool about it. And I was just like, what? Like, I loved you to death, like, for real? Dang. Then the older guy, I was just so damaged from them other situations that I blamed them for, even though I was the one who didn't say nothing, and I was the one that didn't express myself. I blamed them. So when I got with him, like, I thought everything, like, oh, you trying to play me? Oh, you trying to, he's like, I'm not trying to do nothing. Which, he had his own issues. He wasn't trying to do what I was saying, but he was doing something totally different. But all those relationships taught me now, today, how to be vulnerable and how to express my needs, and how to open up my mouth and not be afraid to speak up for myself, and not be afraid to be rejected, or someone say, like, hey, I can't do that, and me be like, okay, well, I'm standing on this is what I want, and this is what I need from you, so where do we go from here? Right? So make sure that everything you're going throughout life, that you're learning from your mistakes. You're learning. So moving forward, you will get better results. Because I'm telling you right now that now, ever since I've learned to pivot, life has been great. Instead of giving up, all right, assess the whole situation. What's another way I can go about this and still be successful, right? And then now that I'm more vulnerable and I express myself, I'm able to end situations faster. I ain't gotta. It ain't gonna take me a long time to get out of a situation, because I'm gonna tell you exactly what I need from you. And when you can't deliver, then that's gonna tell me everything I need to know. It's gonna tell me that this is not the situation for me. Period. And also, me expressing myself and me being vulnerable is also opening me up to a whole new portal of men that can meet me there. Seriously. Quick little snippet before I go, because it's over 30 minutes. There's this guy that I'm talking to. I had met him on the plane. He asked for my number, whatever. And our first conversation, I was like, look, I got straight to it. Like, look, I'm dating for marriage. Okay? I don't have no more time for, like, if you're not ready for marriage right now today, and that's your intentions too, and that's what you want to work towards, and we're gonna date towards that, then I'm over that, right? So first he was like, sheesh, like, I don't really know about that. First, he's younger than me, so he's like, I don't really, I just want to, like, make memories and stuff. And I was just like, okay, well, I'm really not here. Sounds like we're on two different pages, so, like, we could just be cool, but I'm looking for marriage, so, and you look for memories, that don't seem to be aligned, so, we could just be cool. So he was like, okay, so he backed up for a couple of weeks. He called me after about 3, maybe a month, and he said, I've been thinking about what you said. I've been thinking about it since you've said it. And I called to tell you that I'm open to date for marriage. Like, I'm open to that because of how I felt when I seen you in the airport before I asked you for your number. Like, what went through my mind, what made me say something to you, like, just something was like, hey, you might want to get to know her. Like, you might, like, that's something special about her. And he was like, and because of that, I'm willing to meet you where you are. And I was like, look, I'm very dramatic. Like, I was on the phone, like, I was like, are you sure? He was like, yes. I was like, wow. But see, like, I learned how to express myself and say what I wanted instead of being scared. Like, no, like, what if that's not what they want? What if that turns them off? It's like, no, like, if it turned them off and we didn't talk, it was like, okay, that's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. If that's not what you want, then you ain't the one. I got to keep going. And I got to keep making myself available for someone to approach me just like you did, right? So, learn from your mistakes. Because I'm telling you now, I'm learning and I'm applying what I learned, and it is working, honey. And all of the ways that I just said, literally all of them, with the life ones, with the relationships, and me vetting properly because I'm getting ready to be a wife, and me being able to dead situations sooner than later, you know what I mean, before I just get super hurt and broken and have to heal from that before I get ready. Like, no, I just ended the situation and it's done. Like, 3 days, I ended the situation literally, and 3 days later he called me and said, let's date for marriage. And I was like, whoa, like, that was fast. Like, okay. So I encourage you to learn from your mistakes and apply those lessons in real time, and give it time to manifest into what you intend for it to be. Thank you for watching.